This conference will now be recorded.
Thank you, Eli. First of all, thank you all for joining Government Affairs for August, our August meeting. And I want to thank Patrick Klein for coming to talk to us about the airport and what's going on. And I'd like to open it up and let him go ahead and get started. And then we'll take care of other business once we're done. So, Patrick, why don't you?
Do we have the ability to share my screen here?
Eli, can you make that happen?
Yes, one moment. That was Patrick Klein, right?
Yep.
Okay. Patrick, you are now a presenter, so you should have a functional share screen button at the bottom of your window view here.
Yep. Can you see it now?
Yes, sir.
And for folks who are watching, you'll probably see that there are still a lot of video windows up above the shared screen. There's a little gray dividing line between the video windows and the shared screen, and you can click and drag that up to get rid of those video windows.
So you can see the header on the screen?
That's right, Patrick. We can see KCI New Terminal Project Update.
Perfect. I'm going to jump in then. This was a presentation we were supposed to give to, I'm getting feedback from somebody. That we were supposed to give to the Transportation Infrastructure Committee on Wednesday. We ended up not being able to give it, but I'll give you a version of it, so you'll be the first to see it, actually. We're going to go through our executive report. We're going to go through some of the progress, talk about our MBE and our workforce participation, and then some upcoming milestones, so you'll know. We have an executive report. Several of these reports are on our website. They get updated monthly, a new one. So if you go out to buildkci.com, you can see all of these reports, all of the photos. You can sign up to see the cam from the tower, to see the job site. You'll see all of it. So Build KCI is that site, buildkci.com. Here's kind of the overview. You can see that we've got a $1.5 billion budget. To date, we've invoiced just over $300,000, a little over a year into the project. Our MBWBE participation, they've got goals, and this is on professional services only. So this is the engineering and the architect. We've got goals of 17 and 12, and right now they're on track for 20 and 17. And you can see, 68 total firms, 14 MBE firms, and 14 WBE firms. So Edgemore's done a terrific job with the MBWBE participation, and I'll show you some of that later in one of our slides. And if you want to jump in with questions, you can jump in at any time or save them to later, however you guys want to handle it. Here's on our construction side. The goals are 15 and 9. Right now, they're at 9.4 of contract awards, and they've got 10% WBE on contract awards. There's about a 60-day lag from the time we approve a contract before it gets showing up on these reports through HRD, because they've got to have subcontracts signed, they've got to have all their paperwork done, then they put it in the system, and it takes a while for HRD to fill it out. So I'll show you some numbers of what we expect on contracts later. On the workforce numbers, the goals are 20 and 2.75 for women. They are on track for 18 and 5.0 for women. And then right now, Kansas City, Missouri only residents on the job are 11%. But if you look at the region workforce, it's almost 80% of the workforce is local, considering the 14 county MSA. Our owners rep, the ones who are watching over Edgemore, they've got goals of 13 and 8, and right now they're on track for 15 and 14. So they've exceeded both of their goals on their contracts. Here's kind of an update of where we're at. You can see we've just signed off on the 80% documents for construction on the terminal. We've got the baggage handling system that's, you can see the timeline there. 30% designs done. We expect by next May it'll be finished. We've got a 3-month look ahead here where you can see in September more of the structural steels going up and the garage piles will start to go in the ground. And we've got some pictures here to show this. This is one of our reports that I use to kind of track where our spending should be. And it helps us to, if we see any variations, it lets us know that we're either spending not enough or we're spending too much from where we should be on our schedule to get done by May or March of 2023. Here is our contingency. We started this project with about $198 million in contingency, and a lot of that money was kind of design evolution because this is a design build project. You can see we've got right up in the top here, you can see we've got right here, I'm circling it with my deal, about $113 million of that left. 33 million of its owner's contingency, that's the department. We've got about $24 million of the design evolution. I mentioned that we're about 80% through the design documents in the terminal. We've got escalation. So as we buy out packages, we've got $24 million set aside for that. And then the contractor has about $30 million sitting in a contract contingency for them. So right now we're really happy with where we're at on our contingency spend. Typically on a project this side, you'd have between 3 and 8%, and we've got a little over 11%. So we're really happy with where that's at in the scope of the project right now. Procurements, you've heard probably if you've been paying attention to the STAR, there's been some conversations with the City Council on some procurements. We are doing a final and best offer on the concrete paving. We'll get that back next week and then get that awarded. We've also awarded the utilities, the landside utilities, and some other packages. Right now, painting, carpet, terrazzo, breach controls, and boarding bridges are getting ready to go out. And then in September, you can see landscaping. These are kind of the last packages other than final cleanup. So at the end of September, we will have about $800 million of construction procured for this job already. Right now, we're sitting at about 720. Project progress. These are the pictures I love to see. Down here in the bottom right, you can see kind of the entire area. Here's Terminal B. It's just off the screen, but you can see here's where the garage is supposed to be. This is the entryway, the concourse, the connector, and then the concourse. And you can really see this in the picture. So they haven't started on the piles for the parking garage yet. That's coming this fall. You can see this is where the roadways are going to come in, and this will be the elevated roadways. So you'll be able to drop off up here, and if you go down under here, that's for the departures folks, and there'll be a roadway into the parking garage also that comes in right here. So you can see kind of the elevated roadways. They're pouring the deck, and they're marching right along. The steel started a couple of months ago. You can see this whole concourse B, the side which will eventually be southwest, is up. You can see they've got this area over here. This is the FIS, the international facility, and 4 city gates. This is where American will be, and you can see the north side of Concourse A, and then they will eventually move over to Concourse B and then do the concourse. So you can see the structural steel. I'm amazed how quick the structural steel is going up. And the quicker we can get this thing boxed in, the better we are, so we can spend our time. You can almost see right here at there's some, and I'll show you some pictures. I'll just go right to the picture. So we'll go right to it. Hold up. So here's the elevated roadway. You can see that's being poured. That's right in this area right here. Another shot of the pilings and the elevated roadways that comes through. Here's the precast concrete. This is what I was talking about. This will actually be the walls of the departures area. And you can see if we go back 3 slides here, bear with me, you can see them just right here. They're starting to go, that precast wall starting to go in right here on the first level. So we're excited that they're started with the precast. Those are going up. You can see the big, all the glass that'll be involved in it. Here's what the structural steel and the metal decking is starting to look like. Any other questions on the pictures or anything we've covered so far yet? Nope. All right. We'll go back. There'll be plenty of time. So we talked about the goals earlier.
Pat,
Yes.
this is Marty. I sent a question in on chat, but I don't know if it came through there. I was just curious what kind of things you're designing yet if you're this far into construction.
I mean, we've got pretty much all of it designed. So there will be two main. Let me flip back to the schedule or the map. So the area right here, number 4 that you see, where this is going to be one of the retail nodes, and the other retail node will be here. So this will be all where all the concessions are at, the retail stores, the barbecue restaurant, all of that will be mostly here, and then they'll be scattered out through the concourses also. This connector will have 2 movable walkways to connect you. So if you're going United Delta or Southwest, this is about an 800-foot area. You'll have this wide open head house that's going to be beautiful. If you've seen the pictures in the departures area, downstairs in the baggage claim, there's going to be a USO for our military folks that we don't currently have. There will be a simulation room. There will be a play area that we don't currently have. A nursing mothers. The bathrooms will have twice the number of toilets we have now. There'll be a significantly upgrade to those. What else? An all-inclusive play area that will be out here, right in this area here, and we'll have a meditation room also over here in this right between 10 and 11 that we don't have. So there'll be a lot of different items that we don't currently have available, just because we have more space now and we've been able to plan it right. So a lot of features that you expect at an airport that we, obviously we don't currently have the ability to do with our structure. That help, Marty?
Yes.
Sure. So let's go back to the MB numbers, because there's been a lot of information in the press, and for whatever reason, we haven't done a very good job of pushing this out. So Edgemore, they've got the numbers, the MBE, WB percentages that the HRD department has given them, human relations, and they're tracking those. They've also, on top of that, committed to a total of 20 and 15 for participation on the project. Currently, what's been paid out to the different subs is they're on track in professional services. They've paid out 20.45 and 11, so they're a little below on the WBE, but they're ahead on that. They'll probably work that out in the next 6 months as they go. And then on construction, on the 20 and 15, you can see they're at 18% with the MBE, so they're not quite at the 20, but they're above the HRD number, and they're at 7 on the WBE. So they've got a lot of work to go, on there. But you got to remember the construction of this project. I mean, we still got 2.5 years of construction, and this is the project. This is the piece that doesn't get shown a lot. I mentioned that we've subcontracted and bought out on our construction about $700 million worth of work here. Of those contracts, 209 will eventually go to the minority businesses. Now, those haven't worked their way through the system, and they definitely haven't been paid out yet. So those don't show up in the previous numbers. But you can see what they anticipate on of the subcontract at 721. They're predicting that they're going to be at 29 and 18 with the goals of 20 and 15. So they're going to be well ahead on those numbers. They've got 102. Then this number's come down a little bit because we've bought out another $40 million. They predict of the remaining 102 that they're going to buy out 17 and 39% in the W's. So at the end of the job on construction, with the $823 million of construction, they predict that they're going to be at 27 and 21. That's much higher than the 20 and the 15 that that they signed up for. So they're, obviously these can change a little bit, and we got to make sure over the next couple of years that these become reality. But they're on track to really crush those M and WBE goals that the city has said was so important on this project. This is a piece that doesn't get said a lot in our conversations. Everybody wants to talk about, well, what's been paid out to date. What's been paid out to date is just a snapshot. This is for me as the director, really tells me, are they going to get where they need to get? And I see them a path them to really doing some great things on this. As they go through this on these subcontracted, they've got to do LOIs, they've got to do letters of intent, and those letter of intents have to be signed off by Philip Yelder and HRD downtown. To date, as of you can see they're at $130 million. This is that project, and this gets them to that 48% that we showed. This is October of 2020, but they've got this thing that shows them all the way to the end, where when they get to the end, they're going to have over 300, almost $400 million of the project to M and WBEs. That's transformative for the community. I'll go on here. You can, and I told you about the workforce goals. These are actually the workers on the job. So there's 18% that have been minority. The goals are 20. There's 5% of our workers on the job that are women, and their goal was 2.5. Here's the 11% that are KCMO only residents, and and on the total job we're working about almost 80% in the MSA area, which is the 14 county region. Up what we've got going on now, you can see that we talked about the precast and the road, that those are all continuing. Sorry. The 8A bids right here, you can see the drywall and the ceilings have been awarded and concurred. We've got some work to do on the carpentry, the roofing, interior masonry, and design completion will come this winter. And then the curtain wall and the building structure will be complete before winter of 2020 and 2021. So a lot of work to go. There's about 100 acres there. There's, you can see how big the job site is, but there's lots of stuff going on at any given time. And with that, we are done. You can see the build KCI information here. If you have any questions, and with that, I will open it up for questions or anything else you guys would like to talk about.
Patrick, your reception was really cutting out toward the end of that just now. I think it might improve if you were to stop screen sharing, but I just wanted to let you know that it might be tough for folks to hear you.
It shows the area. That seems to be where most of the questions are at.
Sure.
Hello?
Yeah, I can't tell if anybody's talking. I sort of had one question.
Sure. Go ahead, Marty.
I was just curious. Things are breaking up on my end.
Yeah, Patrick, you're still breaking up a whole lot. I think I'm not sure what's going on with your connection, but it might be kind of difficult for you to respond to folks.
Let me log out and log back in. I've had this problem all morning, so let me log back in. I'm going to jump right back. Bear with me for a second.
Okay, sounds good. Sounds good. In the meantime, folks, if you want to post questions in the chat, or if you want to ask the questions out loud now, and I can put them in the chat for whenever Patrick comes back. Alternatively, we could just wait. That's fine too. Thanks for the question from David Lindeman just now in the chat. We'll be sure to get to that once Patrick is back. I see he seems to be still joined into the call, but it says he's offline. So, there he goes, just left. So hopefully figuring out those issues over on his end.
All right, I'm back. Sorry. Can you hear
Welcome
me?
back, Patrick.
My
Yeah,
computer, my computer does about an hour, and then it just wants to shut down on these calls. So sorry.
That's the same way I feel. I have sympathies for your computer, so no worries. So we do have a question here from David Lindeman in the chat, but I know Marty had a question first, so I want to go ahead and give Marty a chance to ask that.
Well, this shows where my background is. The areas around the airport when you're done, are there going to be any natural areas, wetlands, etc., established?
We've got a pretty complicated system already with the different ponds and items with the Berlin Reservoir, and most of the work on this site will tie into that current system. So we've got some holding ponds that go into Berlin, and then Berlin that goes in eventually into Todd Creek. So we'll continue to utilize that system.
So this won't take any of them out.
No.
Thanks.
We had another question from David Lindeman in the chat, but David, I wonder, do you want to just ask that out loud, or would you prefer me to read it for you?
Well, if I can get unmuted. There. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, can hear you just fine.
I was just wondering if the MBEs and WBEs were overlapping at all. That's when I was at the city, that was something I had a little trouble with. Developing independent pools of those people so they weren't counted twice. They kind of got onto me for that.
No, they're not really overlapping. I mean, we have a few that, like Lily, for instance, that are both, and we force Edgemore to make a decision before the contract side of which way they're going to go. So in some cases, on some scopes, they may say they're going to be a W, and other scopes they may have them as an M. So Edgemore really ends up controlling that issue. They can't count them on both sides though.
Okay, good. Thank you.
And then Ed Linneber, you had a question as well. Do you want to go ahead and ask that out loud? If you're talking right now, you're muted, just so you know. Oh, actually, it looks like maybe he isn't joined by phone anymore. Ed, are you try to talk again?
Hello?
Yeah. Okay, I had you muted, Ed. Sorry about that.
It's okay. One question I have is, based on the current work, are we ahead of schedule? Behind? Where? I know you showed us the calendar, but I was curious where we are, and are you happy with where we are?
I am happy. We're still currently on schedule for March of 2023. I'm still a little worried. I'm getting feedback. Sorry. We had one of our procurements, the utility work, that is in the critical path. That typically we only have 10 days to respond to the award, and that was one of the projects that the procurements that the city council has been discussing for the last month. So I'm a little worried that we're a couple of weeks behind on that. But I know through the contract signing and some other things we're going to do, we're going to try to make that up. And I've been told by the construction folks that at this point there's not, it's, it hasn't affected it. They did make a decision this week, and then we've went ahead and executed that contract. So it's a matter of catching up. But that was my biggest worry at this point. So and then beyond that, we've got to get this concrete paving discussion done. And I think the final and best offer that the council approved yesterday will allow us to make that decision and start moving on. So at this point, I don't have any real worries, but it's a big project and we've got a lot of time, so things can pop up. And I think we've got enough in contingency to handle some things. But you're never really comfortable until we're open.
Thank you. That was good. Okay, I was just curious when you were talking through it. I wanted to make sure we were still on track, and it sounds like you've got those things lined up. Anything going forward from a perspective of forward thinking that you're worried about from a design perspective or construction?
So my two worries right now are there are a lot of companies on this job. I mean, there's I think 130 different subs on this job. I'm worried about scopes that may have dropped between contractors. So I thought I'm doing this piece. I thought you were handling that. You thought I was handling this. That all falls to Edgemore ultimately, but that's the piece that I'm a little worried about just because of the sheer number of different companies that got to work. Now they're co-located and we're sharing the same platforms, but it's real easy for somebody to use a older version of a document, design something off of that, and then when they get in the field realize, oh, we used an older document, and that's where issues can happen. So haven't had it pop up yet. I'm a little worried about that, and then ultimately, I'll start to worry about rain days and all the stuff that goes along with that as we get farther and farther into closing that building up. Once we get the building closed up, I'll feel, if we're on time at that point, I'll feel really comfortable because then I think we'll be in good shape. And then ultimately making sure all the systems are checked and commissioned and tested before we actually open up. So the intercoms work, the flight information displays work, all the the baggage handling systems working, all of those systems, the TSA, making sure once we're done and we've done some practice rounds that when we open up on the March 3rd of 2023, that the entire project's done. All the concessions are open, all the art projects are done, all of that. So I don't know that I'm going to be completely happy until we get there, but I mean, those are my big worries now.
Thank you, Pat. I appreciate that very much.
Good. Pat, Dave,
Do we have any other? Oh, go right ahead, Dave. I was talking over you just now.
Yeah. As far as the current ability to get to terminals B and C, are there going to be changes in configuration, or are those pretty much stable through the rest of the construction? I think that's something of interest to current passengers.
Not only are the traffic circles in the roadway that we did now, those are permanent at the end. So the roadways that we do will tie into those. So those will stay through 2023. So no more traffic changes.
Great. And the other question, really, we've talked about the location of the various airlines and all of that. Nothing much has been said for the public as to where the security checks, TSA in the new terminal will be. Can you give us kind of an overview of that?
Yeah. I don't have it on my screen, and I'm afraid to pull it up because it may use all my Wi-Fi here. So you saw the kind of how you're going to drop off at the separated roadway in the arrivals. You will walk in maybe 50, 75 feet there. If you've got your ticket on your boarding pass and you don't have to check a bag, the security's right there. If they drop you off in the middle of the building, you can go through security, and as soon as you're through security, you've got that first concession node. So you will probably 125 feet if you're dropped off and you don't have to go to one of the ticket counters to be past security into the building. And then you saw the two nodes that we're at. So depending on which way you go, if you're American or maybe one of the cats and dogs, you'll go to the right. If not, you'll go down the connector to the other airlines.
Do we have any other questions from folks? You can either, put them in the chat or just unmute yourself and chat that way.
I've got a question based on recent things happening to me. I have to be a lot more careful with what I do. I'm a lot more aware of disabilities areas. How I've never had experience out there, and I hadn't been paying attention to what this new airport's supposed to look like with regards to disability access coming in. I'm using a walker, but in the future, when it comes to things like this, how far do I have to go to get to the airport? I mean, to the actual gates.
So this was Marty, this was a big push for our city council. They passed a resolution that said they wanted this the most accessible airport in the world. I don't know how you gauge that, but we've done a lot of stuff in our design. So, for instance, if you pull into the parking garage, and there'll be signs and smart guidance system to tell you where to go. If you park on the third or the fourth level, you and for instance in your position, if you've got a walker, you will not have to make a grade change from the parking garage all the way out to Southwest deal. So you'll be able to cross the street on a crosswalk from the parking garage, go into the arrivals area, into security, through security, onto the moving walkways, down to the farthest piece down to Southwest without making a grade change at all. So there won't be any steps for you. There won't be any escalators, that sort of thing. And then everything's being designed with plenty of room for the ADA compliance and that stuff. There'll be plenty of wheelchairs. So if you want to get into the building and you need a wheelchair, there'll be that. People be available to help you through that if that's a service you'd like to have. So there's been a lot of thought that went into that those design changes, because in a lot of airports, for instance, that connector that you saw would be underground. So what would happen is you'd come in, then you take an escalator down, go out onto the to the next connector, and then come back up. Well, we didn't want to do that. The airlines would have liked us to do that because that allows the planes to move freely. And we've created a couple of cul-de-sacs in our design, but we knew that was important, and so that's why we made sure that there wouldn't be grade changes for folks that's important to. And then eventually it's going to be us having to get out that if the handicap spots for those people who need them are on this level, and at this level there's no grade changes through the building.
Yeah. I've learned a lot about street design for handicapped. Trust me, in the last
Right.
few months.
Yes.
Thank you.
Do we have any other questions? Oh, I see we've got a chat here. It looks like Paul had to leave, but he said thank you, Pat and NNI, for this session. So any other questions, or are we feeling pretty good?
Anytime you guys want us back, just Deb knows the number. You guys can call. You guys have my email. If you got questions or something pops up, or you just want to chat, feel free to call me anytime. I appreciate you guys.
Great, thank you. And
Thank you.
Ed, is there anything else you wanted to cover?
Any other business for today? I know next month we will be working on trying to get all the Northland neighborhoods mayors to the meeting. So thank you, Anita, for joining us. I appreciate that. Good to see you on the call. I'm open to any suggestions or any ideas.
Have you guys done any, Marty, this is Marty. Have you guys done anything in the past about prior to elections with regards to getting to the polls, information about it?
No, but I
I
think we ought to. I'll look into that.
guess,
Okay. Go around the room. Anybody got anything? Okay. Well, thank you all for a great meeting. I appreciate Pat's report. That was pretty intense. I will put minutes out to you all and let you know.
Thank you.
thing.
You all have a great weekend. Thank you.
Yeah, take
Thank
care,
you.
everybody.